Welcome to the PAMU podcast, your go-to neoliberal getaway.
Welcome to the PAMU podcast.
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 Now, sit back and imagine you are in your designated cubicle, wasting your physical energy.
For the glory of the corporation.
For the glory of the corporation.
For the glory of the corporation.
For the glory of the corporation. Take a 5-minute lunch break and enjoy.
Welcome to the PAMU podcast.
Hello. Welcome to the motherfucking PAMU podcast. Where are you at? It's 2019. It is July. It is August 4th. With your boys, bro.
Holy shit, we're back. We're back after a 2-week hiatus of doing nothing about it. And now we're back. We're all hangover, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not sure how this is gonna go. What about you guys? How you feeling?
Yo, I'm feeling amazing.
You already know, I was just drinking some Captain Morgan and spinning around in my chair for like 5 minutes, so. And now I'm making some protein shake right now, so you know how I am.
Oh, nice. Fuck. Well, okay, so you're joined today by me, Vlad, Azim, and Lance, again. We decided it's just gonna be us this time because we haven't done anything in 2 weeks, so it's something chill, man. Especially considering that my fucking brain is like aching from all the fucking ethanol.
My brain is like melted, actually.
Nice.
Bro,
I was brain to fill up my protein shaker. Can't even speak right now, barely. This is going to be an interesting podcast because I'm still drinking, so it's going to get progressively worse.
You mean progressively better?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
I have my camera on, so if you guys could see me, I'm drinking right now.
He just fucking... Yo, I see you. Bruh, that was wild. He just gets that bottle of Cap Morgan and he just fucking goes swoosh.
Oh, man. Fuck.
From the bottle, I'm going to hit some of my protein because I got to get strong. You hear that? That's me shaking it right now.
Oh, fuck. Describing physical activities in an audio format. It's the future.
Tastes like sand. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, bro, that's good. That's a good protein shake. At least it doesn't taste like shit.
Hell yeah. Fucking ready. Let's do this shit.
Fuck, dude. Okay, so what's been going on with you guys in the past week that we haven't been doing any episodes?
Alright, I guess I'll go, dude. Dude, let's see. Friday, I was hitting up the bars and the clubs like normal. And, this chick at one of the bars called Enso, like, she was pretty okay. She was built like a fridge. She was like rectangle, like, figure. But, like, she definitely had some plastic work done on her. But, I mean, stimulation is stimulation, if not, I mean, like, I don't know, I had a good time. And then, what?
What kind of fucking bar is that? She had, like, plastic done on her and she's built like a fridge?
Yo, bro, I mean, she was like a rectangle woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, she definitely did not work for that booty she got, or them titties, like, I mean, those were bought and sold, if you know what I mean? Like, that was some injection going on there.
Quality.
But, you know, I mean, it's a move, you know what I'm saying? So that was good. But yesterday I had a fine woman. Fine woman. Like, she had a tight waist and everything, dude. It was a good time. I felt so good.
This is a quality conversation.
Bro, I'm saying it's a move, bro. I'm all about it, man.
Azim's fucking sexual exploits when, like, he puts on this pimp accent also.
Bro, dude.
The pimp from Pakistan.
Oh, man.
No, here's the thing. People here don't think... Well, people from here don't think I'm from Pakistan. They think I'm a Latino. So, I'm not ugly.
You
Have they ever
serious?
seen a Latino
Yeah.
person?
Huh?
Have they ever seen a person like me who's actually Latino?
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? Why do they think you're Latino?
Yo, I don't know, because there's no such thing as Packies here, bro. The only brown they know is from the South. The real South. Hashtag El Paso. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where all those people got shot.
Oh, bro, we're gonna talk about shootings right now? No, we're talking about our weekends. Hold up.
Can you explain what happened in El Paso?
Yo, some dude shot some people.
Some fucking people got bodied. That's what happened.
Did you read the manifesto?
Was it politically motivated?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was inspired by Christchurch. Yep.
Are
He
you
was just
serious?
writing about, yeah, he was writing about how he wants to, like, he shot him because he used the same phrasing of invaders and shit. I don't know, it was really gay. It was, like, really dumb. Wait, is that
Yeah.
PC? Can I call something that's, like, bad gay?
No,
Or
we're
does that mean I'm a homophobic?
You're homophobic, man. We're neolibs. We gotta keep it real.
Well, I'm also from Oklahoma, so...
That means you're a white piece of shit because you're from the Midwest.
Yo, really? Fuck. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take it. I guess
Everyone-
I'm white.
Everyone can immediately tell I'm Russian because of my beautiful eyes and lack of
Are
chin.
you actually Russian, though, or are you Ukrainian?
Well, Slavic. I wanted to say we don't talk about the Russians on this.
Yo, if you ever... Yo,
Sure
I thought we're neolibs, bro. If you bring up the Russians, then they're just gonna associate us with the fucking Russian hackers, dude.
You're right. You're right. Fuck.
You
Fuck
gotta
the
chill
Russians.
with that shit. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
chill
Ru-
with that shit.
Russians are not Slavic either way, right?
Russians are Tartars, right?
Yeah, they are kind of like Tartars, like Asiatic cultures.
Yeah, that's what they are, bro.
Do you remember
Have you
that
seen
time?
Moscow?
What?
Moscow is like that fucking building, you know, Moscow with like the
Kremlin?
Islamic, yeah, whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah,
Oh, it's got
Kremlin.
an onion dome that's got,
Yeah.
like, Turkish
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah. That proves that the Soviet Union was Islamic because that was a mosque. All right, next question.
Oh, we're
you know,
doing questions now?
we
Wait, no, I don't. Why did I say next question? We don't even have questions. I'm sorry.
yeah, we're not really prepared, as you can fucking see. We're fucking dying, all of us. Do you remember
Dude,
that
that is-
time? Do you remember
Holy
that
shit.
time we were talking about the fucking Christchurch shooter and like we were talking about like serial killers. And here's the thing, what I fucking realized how much the internet has fucking redefined what like a serial killer is. Cause slowly as like people get more and more socialized, they're like, they attribute their fucking, homicides on like a political level. Right, because like back in the day, you would have a serial killer who would have absolutely no access to anybody they can talk to, while online, with this with this like guise of irony, they can like talk about whatever the fuck they want. So that's why
Political and they're always crazy.
that's why there's so many more like politically motivated serial killings. I think it's because of the internet.
Yo, I agree. I agree with that statement, 100%.
And was it the same thing as the Christchurch shooter? Was it like the fucking fake ass accelerationism? It's not real accelerationism.
Yeah, dude, it was fake. I mean, did it accelerate anything? No. It was just like, yo, incels. Like, that's all it was.
Accelerated the demise of inceldom. That's what it did.
The demise of the... Oh, is that why Dark Cell became a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that really his manifesto? I thought his manifesto was just, like, being extremely ultra-right-wing, anti-immigration nativist, but just trying to do it in an ironic way. I didn't know if it was, like, an
yeah, you're
insult.
right.
Oh, so
I
you're
don't
saying
know. I always just assume it's an incel thing. I always assume that psychologically it gotta be an incel thing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly. You have to be in that fucking incel state in order to like figure out, oh, maybe I should fucking kill some people today because I
Like,
feel
I
bad.
mean, like when you think of like jihadists, they're like incels anyways. Like
Yeah.
that's why they're sent out to do the bombings and shit.
Yeah, they're all
Like all the
incels.
Chads are sitting in the background, just like getting laid, and
Committing
shit, you know what I'm saying?
the terrorist acts, like Osama bin Laden. Was Osama bin Laden a Chad?
I mean,
Hold
he
up.
had a shit ton of kids, didn't he?
Hold up, are you saying that like a country like Saudi Arabia, who are obviously our greatest allies, second to Israel, create create a society that basically
We live in this society.
encourages inceldom?
It encourages inceldom insofar as not warrior class, but like the suicide bombing class are the incels, right? So they send the incels out on the front lines,
It's a demographic.
and then and then like all the Chads are the ones who do the business shit, who like finance everything.
How do we make this children's cartoon appeal to the suicide bombing demographic?
Yo,
think
I
of
feel
like
that's
so is like Saudi Arabia the incel ethno state?
Yo, I think so, honestly.
But
So.
is there like somewhere worse than Saudi Arabia?
Oh hey, I found my microphone.
Oh, nice.
It just fell off of the cabinet when I set my bottle down. There it is.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I guess it's too late to use it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We can't hear you unless we're fucking telepathic from all the hangovers.
Plus, you can't see my camera that I still have on if I use my other device.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm also shirtless, by the way. I had to take off my shirt. It's way too hot in here. I have to turn off my AC, or else it'll be way too loud.
bro, you're good. I mean, I'm naked, so but y'all don't want to see that shit. I mean, you might.
Shit.
Oh, you saw lower half of me. You didn't see the whole thing. You didn't see my face in the pic.
Hey, that's how we're gonna get views, man. That's why.
There.
Wait, we need to do Pornhub content, right? Like that was one of the most requested things that we started doing.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. That's why I think you saying gay as a derogatory term is bad for business, dude. It's not cash money.
Yeah, that's pretty gay, isn't it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Dude, do you think it'll be like? Actually, never mind. Fuck that. I'm not going to say that on the podcast.
Yo, that's.
It wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with like gay people. It has actually stuff to do with like workout supplements. Because I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, should I take this with alcohol? But like, I probably shouldn't. But I'm gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. Fuck it.
Don't
Be
fucking.
responsible.
You're gonna take workout supplements with
the fucking alcohol? What are you fucking crazy? Do it.
Bro, he's in the military, bro.
Do they do that to you there?
That's what
You
they
do what?
Do they like fucking feed you
Yeah,
alcohol and fucking like workout supplements?
No.
Nah, but that's what Lance does.
Nice.
Oh yeah, dude. I got. Oh yeah. So since I've been here where I'm at right now, I don't have like my the GNC that I usually go to shop. So I had to order shit online. So I bought a bunch of shit. And they sent me a lot of like these weird packets here. I'm gonna flip to my back camera so I can show you. They're like, just some pre-workout stuff, protein packets, like individual packets. If you can see them right now. But I got some of these are like anabolic packets. Like here's one, Brute BCAA, Extreme Anabolic BCAA. I'm like, what the fuck? Just individual packets, like one servings. And like, I didn't even order any of these. They just gave them to me for free. And so I'm like, should I take all of these all at once or not? Like here, I'm looking at it right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 packets. Like 10 packets. Of, like pre-workout protein, anabolics. All of it. Should I just take all of it all at once and just see what happens, or will like?
Nah, bro, you would die if you did all the pre-workouts at once.
Could you do it on the
Morgan?
Can you do it on the podcast, please?
Yeah, we could do a podcast episode, just me like snort all this shit right here and just watch what happens and see if I like my heart stops or what.
Yo, but hey, what's the best pre-workout though? Because I've been looking at it and like I really don't know what to do. So like, what is the best one?
for me, for my body type, I can just take anything and be all right. Here, I'll just show you what I have right now. I'm just taking like extremely generic, like all max shit right here.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, I don't even really need to take pre-workout because like just, but I like to have it just because I like to mix it with my shit. But like the only really need pre-workout is if you feel like you're getting way too tired when you're actually working out. At least that's from my perspective. We kind of have similar body types, at least. So
yeah, like body types like ectomorph, right? Or
yeah.
okay.
Well, the thing is, I don't even know if I'm an ectomorph.
It doesn't look like you are. Well, I don't know. I can't really tell from here, but I think you are in between an ectomorph and a fucking what's it called? Not a mesomorph, but the other thing. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not the fat one.
No, not a mesomorph. I think you got. I know I have an ectomorphic build.
This is the type of fucking quality you come to expect on the PAMU podcast.
Yeah, no, I think you are in the middle of like a mesomorph and ectomorph.
Oh man,
endomorph is the fat one.
Yeah,
wait, is it bad if we call it fat? Like, is that not fatphobic?
You mean like
fatphobic?
Differently weighted?
Differently weighted?
Okay, I'm gonna snort all of this shit right now. We're gonna see what happens.
Fuck, dude. This is the quality content. This is the fucking PAMU peak right here.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it right now. But next episode, I'm gonna go to a cave. Bring all this shit with me, and just take it all there, all at once, and it's gonna be the fucking greatest podcast.
Stick around for next week.
Yo, hold up. You're going to a cave? So you're gonna be like the Prophet Muhammad, getting like the fucking divine angel like Gabriel is gonna like give you the Quran or some shit?
Maybe
like,
that's what he did.
All the pre-workout? Yeah, he took pre-workout?
Not just pre-workout, but basically like here, what is this shit? Here. Like borderline steroids, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure what it is.
Legal steroids. I got you.
Yeah. I only have one pack.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck. I mean, like, all this video footage, I don't think it's gonna get on the podcast.
If you can manage to, like, cut off certain segments and just put it up there on the podcast, just so, like, people know what we're talking about, that'd be fucking cool. But here's the thing, this podcast is shit anyway. It's just us bullshitting. You're gonna see the
Joe, I don't even know if this is a shit podcast. I feel like this is a true and real podcast. The other ones were shit.
I'm saying it's fucking real. I remember like our first podcast. It was just me and Azim fucking like talking about like the dumbest shit that comes to our mind, and it got views. When like we started fucking talking about like philosophy on the next ones, that suddenly everything dropped off. So maybe you know,
bro, people are not in. People are not in for the philosophy. The philosophy is out there. You can read that shit. People are in for the narrative of the human experience. And the human experience is getting twerked on by bad bitches and doing pre-workout while drinking Captain Morgan, motherfucker. That's what it's about.
Dave, yeah, there you go.
That's what it's about.
Can we still talk about politics, though? Or is that...
Yo, we can. Tulsi Gabbard just BTFO'd Kamala Harris, and that was fun to watch.
That was incredible. What the fuck? She has some real balls, dude.
Oh yeah, here's the thing. If I wasn't a hashtag Bernie bro, like Tulsi Gabbard would be my number one pick. And I know you guys are like Yang Gang boys.
Yeah, dude, I'm kind of insulted right now, bro. I'm like, yo, you said hashtag Bernie bro?
What, Bernie bro?
Gang train.
We have a Bernie bro in our midst.
Bro, he just likes white men. That's what it is. He's a hashtag race traitor, fucking anti-feminist. Yo, get out of here, Sargon of Akkad. I don't need this shit.
Yeah, you fucking Russian troll.
Dude, I love, like, white men, right? Totally.
Yo, I love white Why was that funny? That was too funny.
I'm to the point to where like I've had too much alcohol that I have to like think of every word before I say it.
Yeah, that's good.
So like I'm gonna stop mid sentence to try to figure out what I'm gonna say next time. So I'm gonna try to take another drink.
Lance, don't fucking worry about it, because if you
Take
say
another drink.
don't worry about it. Just say whatever fucking comes to mind. If you say something fucking like illegal, I'm just gonna cut it out.
Yo, you see, you took too much of that, bro.
You
You were
fucking
not
did that.
prepared for that swig, bro. Yo,
No, he
cop.
made me laugh right when I swallowed it. That's it.
That was funny.
Fuck.
Okay, there's one drink. Now I'm gonna take a drink of the protein. Here we go.
Yo, the protein. That is probably a good chaser, isn't it? Like, cause it gets rid of the taste, the alcohol, right?
Yeah, I just have like the sand absorbs the alcohol taste, and there we go. I just swallow it all down. Dude, my
Right.
liver is gonna like fucking die.
Dude, you're gonna be like the boomer from Left 4 Dead. You're just gonna fucking burst into like guts and gore all over the hotel room.
That's cool. Yo, are boomers like is being a boomer like an adjective now? Like is it a political ideology to be a boomer, or is like being a boomer just like a demographic? I don't even know anymore, dude.
No, I don't think it is a fucking demographic. I think it's a state of mind. It's a lifestyle. It's a religion.
You have to dedicate yourself to the boomer ideology and philosophy before you become a boomer.
Yeah, exactly. You have to like spend like years of like doing the ritualistic shit, like mowing your lawn, complaining about the younger generations, reading Ben Garrison comics.
Yeah, it's pretty boomer. That's top tier boomer, actually.
Like I think Ben Shapiro, who is a god, obviously. Yeah, he is the proof that the boomer is not just a demographic, but a state of mind. You know, he's not like fucking 6 years old. But
Yeah, I guess he is a boomer.
he's a little fucking boomer in everything he does. So it is really an adjective.
He's like 40. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, he's like 40. Doesn't he have a wife?
Yeah, he has a wife, and I think he has kids. Yeah, he has kids.
Yo, that's intense. I have no idea. Like, how would that be, bro? Like, walking around, like, yeah, Ben Shapiro is my dad. Like, that's pretty wild.
Dude, I'd like kill myself at that point, honestly.
I mean, I just might, dude.
Well, no, even worse. How would it be like to the other extreme, saying that like Alex Jones was your dad? Because Alex Jones has kids, and he lost custody of them because of his.
Yeah, but Alex Jones is awesome. Like,
You should ask yourself, how would it feel like to be Chelsea Clinton?
yo, that's the good move. That's actually like, yo, how does it feel? Because no one likes Clintons. Like, sure, no one likes Alex Jones, no one's like Ben Shapiro, but Chelsea Clinton, bro.
She's like universally hated, right?
Well, Chelsea Clinton, not really, but her parents are.
Not Chelsea Clinton, the Clintons.
Yeah.
Her pizza
Her
gate
dynasty. Yeah.
got away with the kids in the Pizza Hut.
Yo, I'm still confused about Pizzagate. Is that like a thing? Is that like
That
a
was
thing?
apparently an Alex Jones thing, yeah.
Okay.
On a more serious note, did you notice fucking Andrew Yang's like closing statement about how totally like fucking like not optimistic he was about climate change?
Yep.
It was.
What do you mean? I didn't see that. What is it?
It was like he was like, oh, you know, everyone is saying that like if we fucking band up together, we're gonna change something, but no, we can't, because the U.S. only produces 15% of all like global emissions, and developing countries are just gonna find a more, you know, competitive rate for fossil fuels. So climate change, you know, we could be already fucked, because like the effects that we're feeling right now should have been felt in 2070.
Bro, like fucking Genghis Khan from the future, motherfucker. He's telling you what's up.
Wasn't solve that.
I'm telling you, that's like the difference between him and the rest and everyone else. Because like everyone else is in the business of fucking convincing you, of like making up their case, because they're fucking politicians. Yang says it how it is, but I'm not sure that if it's gonna serve him well in the long run.
Nah, he already got. I think there's a Wall Street Journal or Guardian article, one of those two, that we're talking mad shit about Andrew Yang because when he said that, like he's a dangerous candidate because his views on climate change. And I'm like, nah, dude, he's telling you what's up. Like the move is you gotta do like imperialism 2.0, but this time environmental imperialism, and you gotta say, hey, fuck you.
Gonna fix that issue eventually over time. I feel like because eventually, like African countries and South Asian countries are going to be more integrated in the world market, to where they're going to kind of stop using those. I can't even talk right now. Those high fossil fuel emission sources that are bad for the environment, and they're going to be more integrated in the world economy, and eventually switch over to more green.
Renewable energy type shit.
But the way that I see it is that like you can way before those developing countries get integrated into the global market, you can invest so heavily into like green energy that you can actually make like green energy sources, sustainable sources, competitive to fossil fuels for developing countries before they even get integrated.
That's true, that's the move.
Who the fuck is gonna put up the initiative for that?
It's not. You can't do that because just the initial investment is just so unprofitable.
Yeah, exactly.
The only way to really do that is for. Well, I don't even know if there is a way to do that. There isn't, because like the initial investment to do that is so unprofitable because those nations don't even have the infrastructure to support it. So before you could even provide renewable energy sources like in fucking like Uganda, you'd have to build up infrastructure to even get before you could start, and they just don't have that. They're basically living in like a weird combination of like the 20th century and the modern era. So they have to use 20th century infrastructure with 21st century like technology, and it's a really weird, complex situation, and they have to wait to sort of until that happens. And someone's eventually going to have to do it, but people are reluctant to do it because it's just a high cost.
I'm not sure that's that fucking time will come, because like you would have to the industry, that green energy industry, would have to be so fucking big that it would have to be like cheaper for you to build like solar panels than having a fucking fossil fuel factory. And it's the same thing with like asteroid mining, right? It's like the initial investment is so huge that everyone is too pussy shit to fucking do anything about it.
Yeah. But it's like how we talked about last episode,
Yeah. It's the fuck. I mean, like Andrew Yang has a fucking point, but I don't know if that's gonna serve him politically.
It's not, because most politics is short-term stuff.
Yeah.
In a democracy.
It's going to take really, like, someone who's really woke and really clairvoyant to really understand that, and I don't think anyone's really brave enough to do that at this point.
I think, fuck, man.
Like,
I think everyone...
It's going to come internally.
Yeah, everyone doesn't want to fucking believe that it's going on.
Like, I think, me personally, it's not going to take Western or even, like, Eastern influence from China to get this shit done. It's going to have to happen internally, and these, like, countries in Africa or South Asia are going to have to develop themselves, like, socially and economically before they can even get to that point.
Yeah, good luck with that.
We've seen time and time again, historically, like, outside influence, especially during, like, the early 20th century, even during the Cold War, like, outside influence from either the U.S. or the Soviet Union or imperialist powers, like, influence on other countries has just fucked it up more and more. And the way that people have been able to, like, develop to the modern era is by doing it by themselves and doing it their own way.
It does, and you have to ask yourself, like, obviously all this, like, foreign influence, like, during the Cold War era, only encourages, like, corruption in those kind of governments. And you have to ask yourself, like, how was there so much fucking, like, foreign influence that it's, like, irreversible at this point? Like,
it totally is, especially now in the era of globalism versus, like, nationalism. Like, that's the hot issue. I was kind of talking about this before in the our little chat room we had, like, the current issue that's different from, like, the previous era, which was, like, ideologies of fascism, communism, and like liberalism fighting each other. That's like completely different now after the fall of the Berlin Wall and 9/11. Like the modern issue today in this era is like globalism versus anti-globalism.
Yeah.
That's the defining issue, and then that ties into that is also climate change. Like it ties into the other shit. People are still fighting like the battles of the previous era, like communism and fascism and shit like that, and that's completely over with. That's decided. Liberalism won. Like the modern fight right now is globalism versus anti-globalism, and that ties into climate change as well.
You're right, yeah.
Whether or not these kind of third world, post-third world countries become integrated into the world market, they're going to have to find a way to be more responsible in their carbon footprint as they industrialize and as the world kind of develops more evenly industrially. Because we're not at that point yet.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know if that even answers your question. I kind of forgot what your question was.
I forgot what the question was, but like what I want to say is that like that's what Deleuze was talking about, like in the 80s. The same exact paragraph where he came to the accelerationist conclusion is that like how the fuck are we gonna deal with globalism? It's so fucking huge. What are we supposed to like do? What Africa is doing right now? We're going to use like this like economic fascist solution to counter globalism, which is basically anti-globalism. No, the Western world is going to have to go further into the direction of the market. But in the case for developing countries, I think you're right. It's just going to be just anti-globalism, and then you would have to hope that we would have like an anti-globalist, someone like Muammar Gaddafi, right? Who's like fucking woke
Oh
enough,
boy! All right.
who's fucking woke enough to deal with the climate crisis, right?
Well, here's the thing. This is just my personal opinion. I can differentiate from what I previously stated. I could be wrong in saying this. Like, I completely say without a doubt that modern issue of this era, like the modern conflict, is globalism versus like nationalism or anti-globalism. But this is my personal opinion. I think that as the world becomes more globalized and integrated into like a world market, that's going to be better than the anti-globalist position.
Yeah.
Only because that the anti-globalist position right now, from what I see, are fighting a losing battle, and they're fighting from a perspective of the previous era. Like if you look at Muammar Gaddafi or like Saddam Hussein, they're trying to hold on to power that they got from like using rhetoric of like the past years of like Cold War rhetoric. They're trying to hold on to the power they got from that, and they're trying to stick with that, and that kind of goes back to the whole anti-globalist movement in general. They're trying to hold on to the previous era, while the globalist movement in general, I don't even like to call it the globalist movement because it has a negative connotation in general. I should call it like the market, the global market integration movement, or even like the more internationalist movement, if I want to call it that. But that has like connotations as well. But either way, I think that is far more progressive for things in general, because as the world market in general united under liberalism, which has been the prevailing and victorious ideology in the previous conflict, now we're going to have a better and easier time solving climate change and all these other issues that are dominating the 21st century in general, because anti-globalist movements are going to not only compete with each other, but have like completely idiotic and destructive tendencies within their own organization.
Okay. In any other circumstance, I would totally agree with you, because like obviously like the globalist movement is quite clearly a better subject to deal with the global climate crisis. But the way that I see it is that the immediacy of the climate crisis will only make anti-globalist movements more powerful, more like antagonistic, like have more effective propaganda than any other, market integrationalist movement. And global market integrationalism, I mean, integration would take way too long before we can actually deal with the climate on a global scale. So I think what you said like previously is that like the developing countries would have to deal with it individually, internally, and the immediacy, the threat of the of climactic collapse is going to give enough energy to those movements to be able to deal with their like fossil fuel dependency. I think so. I'm not sure because it's all crazy.
Right. Like the issues of the climate change issue in general might be enough to get whoever side, whether they be like anti-internationalists or pro-internationalists, to like decide on doing these things that are pro, or at least like working towards changing their carbon emissions. Like it doesn't really matter if they're whether or not they think they're communist or fascist or liberal or whatever. Like they can understand whichever way, like that the fucking earth is getting way too hot and that things need to change. But once that is solved, and I think it will be solved eventually, like it'll get so bad that people will finally decide that, hey, wherever we are, we're third world farmers in Africa trying to organize a government against like Christian militias and fight a civil war, or whether or not it's the United States. Like eventually I think people can decide that some things have to stop and that we have to prevent climate change, and that eventually is going to be solved as an issue. But it's still, that doesn't solve the whole like nationalism versus internationalism issue that's going on as well. That's only like a side conflict in the whole prevailing issue that's going to last throughout the 21st century.
Yeah, you don't know whether like the climate crisis, if it's solved, if it's not going to be too late, if it's actually solved, it will give sufficient enough, like a good enough circumstance to deal with the problem of like internationalism versus anti-internationalism. Maybe because it would give like enough, like I guess, political power to those kind of parties. Just like a justification to, I don't know, violate civil rights or at least violate economic freedoms.
That you also lead into a good point that I kind of wanted to talk about either. This is why I disagree fundamentally with accelerationism in general. Like, I can understand why people... Yeah, I'm gonna fucking get really super woke on you guys.
First anti-yang, now fucking accelerationism, bro.
Yeah, people are gonna really, like, question my commitment. So, like, I can understand why accelerationism is attractive in general. If you look at social development, economic development, societal development as like a game of Civilization 6, then you're gonna want to like fucking advance society as quick as possible, go through like each social change as fast as possible, regardless of the consequences. But like the reality of the world is that it isn't linear like that. So advancing whatever ideology that you think is going to best like benefit your accelerationist position isn't a good idea, because like the implication is that if you are, let's say, like, I don't know, a Trotskyist or a Posadist or like a fucking like super woke fascist, and you're an accelerationist and like, okay, I'm going to advance the neoliberal capitalist agenda as much as I can, because I think that if I do that, the hypocrisies of the global market are going to make it collapse in on itself. That's completely wrong, because just because you think that, let's say from the Marxist perspective, that the hypocrisies of capitalism are going to make it collapse on itself and that's somehow going to jump into communism, that jump in between that is completely like not I don't even know how to say, it's like not even established. You don't know what's going to happen between that. Like, just because, yeah, you can say that certain things and whatever ideology are hypocritical and that you need to advance them or like make them highlight each other as much as possible. But doing that doesn't automatically mean that your side is necessarily right. Something completely different, completely warped and new can come out of that. Something that shouldn't even exist in general.
Right.
And that's the thing, like, in like the previous 20th century, like Cold War, pre-Cold War era of like people competing against each other with their own ideologies, anyone could have won. Like the society that we have right now of like domination of liberalism could have not been that way. Like we could be living in like a more super ultra nationalist world where kind of fascism was the leading like victor of the Second World War, or we could live in like a victorious Soviet Cold War era where communism won. Like it wasn't pre-established that liberalism was going to win. Any three of those like competing ideologies could have won in the end. So it's very hard to say, like, as an accelerationist in that era, which side to pick. So you could have picked any one in general, and it would have been, history could have been completely different, and I kind of see that as the same way. So being in like the conflict of globalism versus anti-globalism, being an accelerationist in that era, if you're anti-globalist but you're an accelerationist and you want to support globalism because you think the hypocrisies of globalism are going to make it kill itself, I think that's dumb, because you don't know what's going to happen supporting a thing that you're against, because it could create a whole nother issue that you couldn't predict whatsoever.
I mean,
That's
for me,
basically the point of rambling.
I can see your point, like, clearly. I think my point has always been that, we're not accelerating, because we're certain that communism will happen. We're accelerating because we're certain that, state-sponsored capitalism will not be able to sustain its power over, like, global commodification. And that doesn't mean that communism after that will happen. It means that there's going to be some kind of ideological crossroad that can go either way. And by understanding accelerationism, you react against this Marxist propensity of being like reactionary against anything that capitalism has developed. So by being, for example, like a left accelerationist, you don't feel guilty for using the tools of capitalism to establish, a future for the sake of, like, individual humans, by being like technologically illiterate, for example. Which is like, I think that's the main problem with like orthodox Marxism and the kind of fucking like laborites and, fucking anarchists, that like anything that like, there's like this connotation that anything that capitalism has developed should be wrong and it's based on oppression, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be utilized for like a better end, right? And eventually, people will realize that, like, oh, I mean, even though capitalism does innovate, social, like, consumer products are always like 10 years behind any kind of a military like development. And if capitalism provides this kind of like innovative power, then we can utilize it to bypass this kind of like dichotomy, the space between like this military innovation and consumer innovation, by just like having innovation by itself make like individual people's life better. And this is the kind of realization that you would have to need as a leftist in a world where, in that ideological crossroad that I mentioned earlier, instead of like reacting against the past, you just look for the future. And I guess like of course it's like shaky, like if actually accelerating techno capital will like lead to any kind of like big change, but it's just the idea that like the government as it is now, like representative democracy or whatever the fuck, will simply not be able to handle multi-trillion sized fucking mega corporations that will eventually have to like have their own like centralization put up, which leaves a lot of territory open for different ideologies to flourish. Either that or global domination. I don't think like that's the difference. between like people like Zach who are like fanatically left accelerationists and like me who are simply not sure what will happen. It could go either way. We could either get fucked by climate change. We could either fucking live in a world where like mega corporations fucking rule everything, or we could live in a world where it's like, oh, this area is completely centralized by this corporation and everyone who lives there is completely fucking ruled over, but the rest of the world, things have changed. Centralization, doesn't work anymore there, so they're doing their own shit. And I guess that's the ideological crossroad that we're looking for, in a sense.
Yeah. So, kind of my perspective on that is you understand the modern problem that we're facing right now. Like you see it, but you're looking at it through a 20th century lens of the left versus right dichotomy. And I think that's a fundamental flaw because you can't see the problem with looking through that lens. And the thing is I don't even have like a valid criticism because I don't even know what the right lens is to look at it from because we're so early in like this era that we don't even know what the solution is. Like 9/11 happened like not even 19 years ago, and that was like the defining moment between like the end of like the epilogue of the Cold War till the modern era.
Yeah.
So like my opinion right now is that we don't know like the front lines or the battle lines right now of which side everyone is going to be on at this moment because it's just way too early to even make that call.
Yeah. But like the only reason why I follow accelerationism is exactly because I'm fucking sick of the left-right dichotomy, because it doesn't just make sense. It's like kind of moralistic like thinking that just stagnates a person and doesn't fucking do anything.
Yeah, and I get that too. I like the thing is I said earlier I completely understand the accelerationist perspective on things in general. Like, and I think that they understand the modern issues that what's going on right now, and they see that over like what you would say like a fascist or a communist who's still fighting the 20th or 19th century battle with the 19th century like viewpoint on everything, even though that we're fucking 200 years in the future and looking at something completely different. Yeah. I think that accelerationists have that. They're looking at the right area, but they're looking at it in general with the wrong lens. Because my personal opinion is I don't see how accelerating, like either as a left winger or as a right winger, I don't see how accelerating, like techno capitalism is going to create what they would want as a future. From my perspective, accelerating techno capitalism is just going to like completely fuck up not only like society, because it's going to create an unnatural creation in like the way things are run, but it's just not even going to create what they would want in general. My whole perspective on things is that people should fight for what they actually believe in, and then what will actually work and what is naturally going to come about is going to win in the end. And if people fight for the shit that they don't actually believe in for some like weird woke ulterior motive, then you're going to create an unnatural like societal balance, and that's just going to fuck things up even more.
Well, I'm gonna tell you two things before we go back to Azim for his fucking viewpoint and we close down because it's already at the 47-minute mark. I'm gonna tell you two things. Number one is you may be right. Maybe you're right in the way of thinking that like accelerationism is like only like a transitionary theory at the beginning of a new era, and we're still not certain of what's going to happen. So maybe they're in the right direction, but they're still not good enough. And the second thing I'm gonna tell you is that you should fucking read the Lose, man.
Dude, that's rude.
Yeah, that's it. Azim, how about you, man?
Unfortunately, you guys hit every point I was ever going to interject with, so I literally have nothing to say. I think Lance is mostly right, though. because like I do think that accelerationism is more of a transitionary theory. I think that was a good way of putting it. But I do think it's essential now to have a sort of accelerationist praxis. That's about it.
I do think it is, because maybe it is a transitionary theory, but so far it has, had like a finger on the pulse of the world better than most theories, and by just using accelerationist praxis, it will give us quicker than anybody else a better idea of what the new era will look like, rather than being a fucking fascist or a commie, right?
Yeah, I agree on that on a fundamental level. I mean, and I guess you guys agree on that as well. Like, accelerationism isn't going to be like the dominating thing for the future. It's kind of like how, in the early 20th century, after the First World War, like how Dadaism, like the art and political philosophy is just society's nonsense, became like the dominating political and like social viewpoint after the First World War. Like, everything society was so fucked up and so stupid. Why should we take it seriously?
Yeah.
That whole like concept kind of gave popularity to fascism and communism inadvertently, because it was a criticism of the modern, at the time, imperialist, super ultra nation state driven era that had caused the First World War. That was sort of like a brief transitionary way of thought before like those three main participators in that main conflict came about.
Maybe that is the problem. Maybe like we and like most people are just way too stuck in the ideological world of the last era, and we can't even imagine a new future.
That's what I think for the most part, and I try, like, I've never specifically called myself any sort of like part of a political ideology in general. Only in very rare occasions would I like declare myself anything. That's part of the reason why, because I don't think that people right now are way too stuck in fighting the last era's battles that have already been fought and won to really even see what is going on right now and actually participate in the current conflict. Because we have people right now debating like the advantages of capitalism versus communism, when like I feel personally that's already been decided in the end. Like, yeah, both communism and capitalism have their benefits and their disadvantages, but in the end, after like the full-on fight, capitalism won, and that's hard for people to like accept and understand. And we've advanced past that right now, or we're at least advancing past that right now. The era of capitalism being victorious is starting to be challenged by a completely different conflict in general of globalism versus anti-globalism. And people need to accept that era is completely over with, that they need to move on, fight the current battle in general, what's going on right now.
Yeah,
bro, you're right.
You're right. Yeah. Well,
that's the move. That's the ending point right there.
That was
big brain.
That was a really
big brain
interesting
centrism, bro.
Yeah, that was a really interesting conversation. I hope.
I like how we started off talking about all kinds of degeneracy. Like through that, boom, like some shit about Gaddafi, and then a whole lot of shit. Yeah,
that was great. Well, thank you for joining us this week. That was great. I think it was great. How about you guys?
Yo, dude, it's always a good time.
Sweet, dude. Well, thanks for joining me, Lance, Azim. I've been Vlad. You guys can fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I